If you're looking at the new Mazda CX-60 going ho-hum, just another Mazda SUV, that's understandable. But the fact is, this could be the most important and bravest new model Mazda has launched since it reinvented itself as the Zoom Zoom car company 20 years ago. We've come to the New South Wales South Coast to drive the new CX-60 and see if it's the right model at the right time or driving in the wrong direction. Let's check it out.
Mazda has wanted to move its pricing upmarket and go premium for years. The more you charge, the more potential profit margin. The CX-60 is that intent in the metal. The 5-seat SUV is the first of 4 CX models to spring off a brand new architecture with new powertrains and a load of new tech. It all wraps up in pricing for the CX-60 that spreads from just under $60,000 to more than $85,000 before on-road costs. That pricing makes the CX-60 the most expensive SUV model ever sold here by Mazda, but it will be knocked off that pedestal by its largest 7-seat CX-90 sibling next month. In effect, Mazda is challenging the likes of the Audi Q5, BMW X3 and Lexus NX with the CX-60, and it's tipping stronger sales than any of them. Speaking of sales, we're driving the mid-spec CX-60 GT, which is expected to be the most popular of 3 trims on offer.
We've combined the GT trim with what's expected to be the most popular powertrain, a brand new 6-cylinder, 3.3 litre turbocharged petrol engine that drives all 4 wheels via a new 8-speed wet clutch auto. Yep, inline 6-cylinder, mounted lengthways in the engine bay, just like your dad's old Holden Kingswood.
This throwback is being released at a time when the battery electric Tesla Model Y SUV is destroying every internal combustion premium SUV in the sales race. So yep, brave. For all the nostalgia, this is a high-tech engine. It comes with mild hybrid electric assistance, as does a new 3.3 litre turbo diesel 6, also being offered with the CX-60. If that's not enough hybridisation for you, then there's a plug-in petrol electric CX-60 that makes more power than any production Mazda ever sold in Australia.
Mazda's really emphasised the longitudinal placement of the engine with the long bonnet, cab backward exterior stance to the CX-60. This car also has a more formal upright grille than existing CX models that we're more familiar with. Speaking of which, the CX-60 sits halfway in size between the CX-5 and the CX-8. This GT model you can specifically pick by its black metallic alloy wheels and this body coloured wheel arch cladding. Step inside the CX-60 and it's still recognisably a Mazda in terms of its elegance and simplicity, but things have also changed. The instrumentation has gone full digital and there's now a facial recognition system to set individual driver preferences for things like the steering wheel and external mirror position.
The fit and finish is to Mazda's typical high build quality, and that's one of the CX-60's real selling points. It's soft, comfortable and welcoming in here. You really feel at home.
The CX-60 GT comes with 2 12.3-inch digital screens. One's the instrument cluster, the other is the infotainment screen. But note, in the normal Mazda practice, it's not a touchscreen. That's done to reduce driver distraction. It's also why there's not a huge amount of information in the instrument cluster and why there's a head-up display in front of the driver on the windscreen with more information there. Rear seat space in the CX-60 is not that generous. I'm 180 centimetres and set up behind my own driving position. My knees are just grazing the back of the front seat. However, headroom is more generous and so is the view out. And there are also some really appreciated touch points here. Adjustable aircon vents, heated outboard seating, 2 USB-C points and a very handy 220-volt outlet. At 477 litres, the CX-60's boot is adequate rather than generous, but the good news is there's a temporary spare tyre under the floor. That's great. Okay, to be fair to Mazda, it's not selling the CX-60 as a load lugger, it's a driver's car. So let's get behind the wheel and see what we find. Get rolling in the CX-60 and you're immediately aware of weight and heft. The weight of the car itself, because it's nearly 2 tonnes, and of the steering, which requires effort even at low speed. The curb weight also seems to have an impact on the petrol engine's performance. It just doesn't feel that energetic until you give it a pretty decent rev. Then it gets keenly interested. What of the other engines? Well, the plug-in filled the lowdown whole but lacks some refinement. The diesel seemed the best all-round driving choice. On smooth and flowing country roads as speeds rise, the CX-60 really comes into its own. It handles and steers with real certainty. But the ride quality was a real conundrum. The CX-60 is set up aggressively firm and it didn't enjoy the coarse and pockmarked roads on the drive route at the launch. But the harshness also varied depending on tyre choice. There were 2 different brands on offer with the GT's 20-inch alloys, and out of them the Toyos offered more compliance. All up, there's a bit of a feeling of unfinished business about the Mazda CX-60. It's great in some ways and disappointing in some others, like it still needs a bit of fine-tuning. And that, considering how highly respected and capable Mazda has proved to be through the years, is a surprise. This car seems to be one that will appeal more to the Mazda faithful looking to move up from a CX-5 than someone stepping across from a BMW X3. Maybe that's enough. But remember, these are just our first impressions from the drive launch. We're soon going to have the CX-60 in the car sales garage for a proper examination. So stand by for that. We'll be back with more on Mazda's most important new model soon.